Namaste. So this is your Sanskrit instructor welcoming you back into lesson number 11. And in lesson number 10, we were trying to go over the rules for using the anuswar. So we went over that anuswar could be a dot above a vowel that could stand for either a final ma or any of the five nasals followed by one of the first four mutes of its own class. Now, there has been a debate on about the word Sanskrit. Some people say Samskrit, some people say Sanskrit, some people say Samskrit with the N, some people say Samskrit with an M. Which one is actually correct? So we're going to try and dissect that and go over it. So, now, the English Romanized spelling with ma is a misguided attempt to represent the anuswar of the Devanagari spelling. Okay, when we try to, translate the Devanagari into English Romanized spelling, it always gets confusing. And from years and years of doing that, people could get confused as to what the dot on the top actually represents. So let's try to dissect the rule for using anuswar and how to pronounce it, and then we'll go on from there. Okay? So, again, an anuswar could be represented as any of the five nasals followed by the first four mutes of its own class. Remember, it's a mute. So let's take a look at the word Sanskrit. This is how Sanskrit is spelled. Sa, nga, the na at the top. This half sa, that's a half letter. Then you have ka, then you have ri. I didn't teach you the vowel sign yet. And then we have the ta. So Sanskrita. Now, the sa, any of the five nasals followed by one of the first four mutes. So it has to be followed by one of the first four mutes. So let's take a look as to what is following this anuswar. We have a half sa and we have a ka. Now this half sa, is it a mute? It is not one of the four mutes. If you take a look in the table, the first four mutes is the hard non-aspirate, the hard aspirate, the soft non-aspirate, and the soft aspirates. Now, sa belongs in the dental section. However, it is not one of the first four mutes. So we can't say that it is Sanskrit with a na, with a dental na. That wouldn't be correct because it wouldn't follow the rule. It has to follow, again, key word here, one of the first four mutes of its own class. But it's not considered to be a mute. So does that mean that we just change it into Samskrit? And Samskrit is just a final ma. Not necessarily. So if we take a look at the next letter, we have ka. And ka belongs to the gutturals. So ka belongs to the gutturals, and the soft nasal that belongs to the gutturals is nga. So my thought is that it's Sanskrit because of this ka, but it's Sanskrit with a nga, not with a dental half na, but it is a half nga. So Sanskrit. Now, I could see that some people could take this S, the next S in Sanskrit, the half sa, and say that because it's a sibilant and it's not one of the first four mutes, that's why they would argue and say that it is Samskrit, since it is not a nasal. It can't be a nasal, can't like go in that class for it to say that it's Sanskrit. Even though sa is dental, it is not a first four mute. But since it's in the class, Maybe that's why the na is being represented in Sanskrit. But as far as um, as far as Sanskrit is being talked about, it is mostly recognized as Sanskrit and not Samskrit with an M. So the defense here is that the ska is making this into a Sanskrit with an N and not a Samskrit with an M. I hope that helps um, or it clears like any type of confusion, whether it is Sanskrit or if it's some Samskrit, Sanskrita or Samskrita. Um, with those words, I will sign off and let's move on in the next video as to how we can actually apply using these rules as to pronouncing the anuswar in our everyday life, which is the exciting part about Sanskrit with an N. This is your Sanskrit instructor, and this is me signing off. Namaste.